he certainly could be making nearly double that. And he doesn't because Brady, somebody said this the other day, I don't know exactly if the numbers are correct, but somebody said Brady's worth $200 million. Well, you know what? He's got a wife at home who's worth double that.
Well,
He's not desperate for the cash.
But he also his name is on a lot of things.
Of course. But he's able to do that, to sacrifice his own earnings because he's got Giselle at home making twice what he makes. And how much money do you actually need? You know, together they're worth $600 million. Do you really need that much more?
Yes.
No. No, Mr. Trump. So he can do that.
Mr. Trump doesn't have that money.
Well, but he can sacrifice himself to help the Patriots remain on top. And he does that. And he does it willingly, and good for him for doing it. But that is what happens. When quarterbacks get paid, teams suffer. But there's no way of doing it. If you don't pay your quarterback, you lose the quarterback, and then you're screwed anyway. So you're screwed either way.
What you need
but
is,
if you keep the quarterback, you'll be better.
What you're saying is you need a guy like George Blanda who can also do kicking.
No.
Yes, that's what you need. So, yeah, you can save a job and make me save some money. Anyway, the Jets 3-8 were horrible. The bottom of the AFC East. The Giants 3-8. The bottom. They gave up any chance of possibly getting into the playoffs if they would won all their games, been 9-7, and of course Dallas and Washington would have to fall apart. Of course, Washington and Dallas played on Thanksgiving.
Yes, they did.
And
Dallas won to make the NFC East
a little more
even more ridiculous because
right.
2 6-5 teams are tied for first place.
Right, and Philadelphia's 5-6,
and they're right in it,
and they could be right in it. You're right. So the NFC East is a crazy division. And the Giants are not part of it because they're at the bottom at 3-8. So
yeah, crazy, crappy, some cray word.
There's a cray word there. So it's really sad. And of course, what do? You know, the Giants have to figure out what's the future. Whether you make that move this year or wait till the off season, that is something they will have to decide. Based on who they get in the draft or even before the draft. Sometimes.
Wait, what move are you talking about?
I'm talking about the Giants have to make a move. Meaning getting rid of Eli Manning.
That's happening.
Well, I'm just saying.
There's no
the Jets will have to make a different type of move in the sense that you're going to keep Todd Bowles around.
Well, that's another move. But Eli's gone after the season because there's no reason, if they draft a quarterback like they should, there's no reason to keep Eli and his $25 million salary around. Eli would have to go, and they would probably sign somebody like Josh McCown for $7 million or whatever, and this way the cap hit is significantly less.
He's making 10 right now.
Well, whatever. But somebody to mentor whoever the draft pick is. Hopefully, it's Justin Herbert out of Oregon.
Right. So it's horrible games both and unusual yesterday. Both the Jets and the Giants played at 1:00, which you never find.
It's rare,
very rare. But usually it's a 1 or a 4. Based on the schedule, so it's tough to watch both games. Anyway, anything else about the Jets and Giants we should say, brother?
Well, not really. It's like I said. I mean, the Giants just kind of blew the game. They had a 19-3 lead. The first half was phenomenal. Eli passed for 246 yards. Saquon Barkley had a receiving touchdown and a rushing touchdown, and it looked like the Giants were going to pound the Eagles. And then in the second half, I don't know what they were doing. And after the game, Odell Beckham Jr. talked about why didn't we punish Philadelphia secondary, which is battered and beat up and has a bunch of guys who are backups and weren't even on the Eagles a month ago. That was their secondary. So why aren't you going after them? Why aren't you going down the field? Why aren't you throwing the ball to Beckham? And Sterling Shepard had one catch yesterday.
Right.
I don't understand. Saquon Barkley touched the ball 5 times in the second half. How do you do that? And Beckham touched it twice in the second half. I don't understand why. I mean, as much as I like what the Giants had been doing in the 2 previous games with running the ball and using Saquon Barkley more and making him a more featured part of the offense, that obviously had been successful. I don't know what they were doing yesterday. I don't know how they blew that game, because it wasn't that Philadelphia's defense all of a sudden got better at halftime. It was that the Giants basically stopped attacking. And Beckham, after the game, said more than once. He said that's not my decision. I would, he said he talked about how he would have liked to have gone after Philadelphia secondary, but he says that's a coaching decision. I just do what they tell me to do, and I go out and execute when I can. But he essentially told reporters, hey, go take that to coach. I'm not answering it. I'm not. And even
he's
so,
got a point.
But even so, the Post wrote that he criticized Shermer. I don't think he really did technically, but he clearly was disappointed in that. When you had an obvious advantage against the Eagles and their beat up secondary, the Giants didn't exploit that. And that's what you have to do in the NFL to win games. You have to exploit your opponent's biggest weakness. The Giants did not do that yesterday, and that's why they lost. And it was, like I said, it was a game where they played so well in the first half. It really was a shame that they lost. I mean, personally, I'm glad they lost because I want them to get as good a draft pick as possible. But it really was criminal that they lost that game yesterday because 19-3 lead, they were dominating the game. Barkley was getting loose and doing everything that fans have gotten used to him doing, which is being a dynamic and electric kind of player. And then in the second half, everything just shut down. And I still have no idea why. It didn't make any sense what was going on, how they called plays, what they were doing, why didn't they get the ball. Giants need to get the ball to Saquon Barkley and Odell Beckham Jr. Those are their playmakers. And maybe to a lesser extent, Sterling Shepard. But I don't know. I don't know why that didn't happen in the second half.
I agree.
I have no answers.
I agree. We're going to take a break right now. You're listening to From the Press Box right here on 90.3 WHPC, streaming on the iHeartRadio app, on the TuneIn app, and, of course, where it all begins at nccradio.org. Tim, you're at Twitter at
Real Tim Leonard.
Hey Siri, what is the square root of 64?
The answer is 8.
Hey Siri, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
Don't you have anything better to do?
Hey Siri, where did some of my favorite hip-hop producers and MCs alike originally get their samples from?
Ask DJ Solero on Lyrics to Go.
Hi, I'm DJ Solero. Join me for the music of yesteryear, the music that hip-hop producers have gone on to sample in later years, along with some of the best hip-hop music that the 80s, 90s, and the new millennium have produced.
I told you DJ Solero knew the answer. I also told you to take a shower, but that hasn't happened. So, no way of knowing if you will follow this advice either.
It's Lyrics to Go for true musical inspiration at a new time. Friday nights at 11 p.m. on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3
WHPC.
Hey, that was my line.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yo. Tell your friends about the Nassau Morning Madhouse. Hear what you're missing.
Check it out.
Check it out.
Has that ever happened to you? It's like, wow, everything happens for a reason. Amanda, I feel like that's happened to you a lot.
We were about to miss our plane. We got a flat tire, and this man comes out of nowhere. He's like, I can change the tire for you. I've got tools with me, and I've got a donut. And then we were able to get our plane, and he just came out of nowhere.
You only said yes because he had food. I'm guaranteeing you that. You only said yes because he had a donut. Right?
No, he didn't have any food. He just showed up.
Eric, that's the least manly thing I've ever heard.
What?
You don't know what a donut is for your car?
I misheard.
Yeah, like a donut is gonna fix the flat tire to get me to an airport.
You gotta understand, it is 7:13 in the morning. I'm hungry.
Nassau Morning Madhouse. Weekday mornings from 7 to 9. On the voice of Nassau Community College.
90.3 WHPC.
Why should you volunteer with Meals on Wheels?
I'll come to the door with one meal and I'll walk away with a full heart.
Drop off a warm meal and get more than you expect. Volunteer at americaletsdolunch.org. Brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
.3 WHPC. Mighty Van Halen bringing us back. I'm Rob Leonard. He's Tim Leonard. This is From the Press Box here every Monday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. At 10 a.m. or a little bit after 10 a.m., it becomes a podcast on Spreaker.com and iHeartRadio and a bunch of other places, including nccradio.org. So you get to miss. If you missed the show, you can listen again, or if you liked it that much, you can listen to it again. Whatever. So the availability to listen to the show isn't just the 1 hour. Though we would appreciate if you listen to the 1 hour, because then you can call in.
Listen live
at 516-572-7440 if you have any comments about anything going on in the world of sports. We've gone through the Jets and the Giants. Let's see, brother. Who do we go to next?
Oh, we got to go to the Yankees, brother. Big trade.
Why?
Big trade.
What the Yankees?
Oh, why do you always say that?
Because I'm a Mets fan.
Go ahead. Check the phone. I'll talk about the Yankees.
No. Is the phone ringing?
I don't know. Check it and see. I don't know. It's not working.
It is working.
See if anybody's on it.
No, it's working.
No? All right. Anyway, Yankees.
Who'd they trade? What did they get?
Of course, the day after last week's show.
That's true.
It always happens that way. They avoid us. I don't know why. The Yankees acquired probably the best available pitcher on the market on Tuesday, and that was James Paxton from the Seattle Mariners. And the price was big. It was a mighty price that they had to pay because they had to give up Justice Sheffield, their top prospect, and one of the top prospects in baseball. He is a left-handed pitcher and, by all accounts, is supposed to be a star of the future. But the Yankees needed a guy now, and they made a trade that we hope works out. Paxton has 2 more years of controllability, so he will be an arbitration guy this year and next year, and then he will be a free agent. He just turned 30 years old, throws very hard, and he is a guy who they needed somebody like him at the top of the rotation. The only drawback with Paxton, he has an injury history. Last season, he threw just over 160 innings, and that was a career high. So that's a bit of an issue. He thinks that he has it figured out as far as the injuries and what he's going to do. So we'll see what happens. But the only reason he missed last year, a couple of starts last year, was he got hit by a comebacker. So that's not an elbow or a shoulder or anything like that. That's just bad luck. That happens sometimes.
Sure.
So he is a guy who has potential to be an ace.
Let's get to the phone call.
Go ahead. What do you
Who's
got?
on the phone? Welcome to From the Press Box.
Hi, it's Aaron from Holbrook, New York.
Hey, Aaron, how you
my
doing?
man.
What do you
on?
What do you want to talk about?
We're going to talk about the Paxton trade and how much I don't like it.
We just started talking about it. Good timing.
Good timing.
Good timing, Aaron.
Good timing, Aaron.
Why don't you like the James Paxton trade, Aaron?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, you traded Justice Sheffield.
Right.
Who, in my opinion,
you got to give something to get something.
What?
You have to give something to get something.
And you could have got something better than Paxton. He's 30. We don't need a 30-year-old on a young Yankees team. The second thing, I know his injury is not elbow or shoulder related, but he has a little bit of an injury history.
True.
He's never pitched more than 160 innings.
I said that just a minute ago.
But let me tell you something. Aces pitch 200 innings.
I agree.
And if the Yankees don't win a championship with Paxton, this trade was a bust. That's just how I see it.
I don't disagree with you as far as that goes, but this is a guy who every baseball observer and every baseball pundit, and I've read a lot about this trade over the course of the last several days. It's pretty much a unanimous opinion that Paxton was the best starter available, and he's the guy that the Yankees had to get. The Houston Astros were unwilling to include a highly rated minor league pitcher by the name of Forrest Whitley into the trade, so the Mariners said, forget it, we're not doing it. And then they called up Brian Cashman, and they talked about Sheffield, and Cashman said, all right, let's do it. And the Mariners said, all right, Paxton's yours. And this is a guy who, I mean, you have to remember, the Yankees are coming up on 10 years without a World Series. And in Yankee land, this is the year 2019 that they have been kind of pointing towards for the last few years, because the whole goal was to get under the luxury tax so they could spend wildly if they want to. Now they have another
one
pitcher.
World Series in
Yes,
the 1990s. The Yankees built a group of young guys, which is how they did it. They built a group of young, talented guys to win 4 or 5 championships in the span of a decade.
Yes,
or whatever it was.
I agree. I don't disagree with anything you just said, but Paxton at 30, he's a guy who's in his prime. I mean, he's not an old guy. He just turned 30. So
30 is old for a baseball pitcher, especially when you throw as hard as Paxton.
Well, but
the hard throwers don't last as long.
But that hard